So there are some tested theories on this. One very famous, Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy of needs. Douglas McGregor, theory X and theory Y management. Frederick Herzberg, the two factors theory. And then finally Dale Carnegie, human relations principles. And we're going to run through these very quickly just to refresh your memory on some of the theories about motivation and getting teams motivated. Maslow's hierarchy, we have survival, security, belonging, importance, and then self-actualization. That was the thought. And the point about Maslow's theory is you need to get to one level before you can move to the next level, basically. So the point there is with survival, it's like air, food, drink, it's warmth, shelter, sleep. You've got to be able to take care of yourself. That's the first. You don't have that, forget about everything else. And then security, it's safe, medical taken care of, things are in order, it's stable, okay, there's no chaos. Once you get those things, then you can start worrying about belonging, that sense of family, the team, friendships, affection, mutual interests. You start to move up the scale. So we assume the first two, that we've got health and we've got safety and we've got, shelter and enough to live on. So at this point, we start to look at how we take people to the next level, okay? Now, importance, being valued, we talked about that before. So develop that self-confidence. They feel they're given responsibility. They feel they're achieving. They're getting ahead. They're respected. They respect other people. And then feeling respected. So this is driving you up. So in Maslow's hierarchy, they're the basics of where people need to move. Now, McGregor had a very interesting idea. Theory X leaders basically didn't see people in a positive way. They felt that, well, people are lazy, They try to avoid work. I've got to be on them all the time. Use the whip, okay? Use the whip to get people to do things. Give them direction all the time. Micromanage them. They won't take responsibility, so there's no point delegating it. It's faster if I do it myself. Fatal words from any leader. It's faster if I do it myself. If ever you catch yourself saying, it'll be faster if I do it myself, ring us straight away and book yourself in for our leadership training, because we do a big portion on delegation to get that type of vocabulary out of your life and get the work out of your life as well, because that's a really fatal thing for a leader. They're only interested in a safe job and picking up their pay and going home. And, they don't care about being part of the team. So in McGregor's ex-leader, it's a very harsh view of people. The Y leader, by contrast, was work is as natural as play. People enjoy it. People can direct themselves. You can delegate. They can self-lead. Yes, they're motivated by rewards. And it doesn't mean monetary rewards. It could be praise. Most people enjoy to take responsibility, to have, the running of a project. They do have creative and ingenuity. We just got to get them to bring it out. And, goals can be met through strong teams. So these two leaders are totally different in how they see people. The first one is a fault finder, a mistake catcher, a bad finder. The second one is a possibility finder, a good finder. It's the old classic. I do 9 things well. My boss says nothing. I do one thing wrong, and all I get is grief and complaining from my boss, right? The classic. We ignore the 9 that are done well, but we hit the one that's done incorrectly. We're all guilty of it, okay? What we're saying here with McGregor's theory is that this type of leader sees the 9 as well as the 1. And they recognize the 9. They don't lose sight of the balance, okay? Now, Herzberg had a very interesting idea. He said there were maintenance factors for motivation. These are maintenance factors. Having a good team collegiate relationship, having good work conditions, having a salary. Now, this is very interesting. He saw salary as a maintenance aspect of motivation, not a motivator in itself. Status, only maintenance. Oh, you're now executive director, or you're now vice president. That's going to be very stimulating for you, isn't it? Maybe not. Maybe people just see that as a natural progression. That's what I should get. That's not a motivator. I expect that. And then security. Yeah, you have security of employee here. Your job's going to continue. Well, of course it's going to continue. I expect that. So things that often we think are motivators, from an employee point of view, may not necessarily be seen the same way. What were motivators from Hertzberg? Feeling that they've achieved. Now, why would you know you've achieved? This is the point about the leader giving you something to do that you can look at and say, I did that and I did a good job, because I was told and recognized I did a good job. Get the recognition. The work itself. Now, often with engineers are a different breed, I've found. For engineers, the challenge of the work is very critical to their motivation. If you give them something too boring, their motivation goes straight down. They are a bizarre bunch of people. They want difficult stuff all the time. And the more difficult it is, the more they love it. That's an engineer. You know, other people gear different ways. Responsibility. I trust you. I delegate to you. That's motivating. And advancement. Yes, you're going to move up in this organization because we see a career path for you. We see you as a future leader of this organization. They were motivating factors. And lastly, the sense of personal growth, where you're investing in the training of people's hard skills and soft skills. People feel the company's taking an interest in me, they're paying money or giving up time for me to grow as an individual. I'm being sent on the course. I've been sent to the conference. I'm representing the company at this particular event. I'm leading the project, or whatever it might be. Now, Dale Carnegie worked on the basis that motivation comes from the leader and how they treat the people. If the leader has got good communication skills, good people skills, that will motivate people. Because often, without us perhaps being aware of it, we're demotivating people all the time. We are doing things which annoy people. And what he discovered was a whole bunch of things you can stop doing, and there's a whole bunch of things you can start doing, and motivation will meet to go. One of them is criticizing, condemning, complaining about people. When we criticize people, what happens? They become defensive. They don't believe it anyway, so it doesn't work. You might feel better, but you've just destroyed their motivation. They feel disgruntled. Comes up every time. And the key word here is sincere. The other key word is honest. Everyone in this room can spot fake praise immediately. We're all experts in it. You know, gomasuri in Japan, just polishing the apple type of thing, people know straight away. So it's got to be real. It's got to be genuine. This is not so easy, but to arouse in the other person an eager want. There are 30 of these principles. They're not all here today, but these are the things that we as leaders have to think about, that psychological aspect of how to want that person to want to do it. That's a big communication skill. And become genuinely interested in other people. If you see the people as assets, if you see the people as some stepping stone for you on your glorious career to the top, you know, the classic sort of military scenario, you all died taking the hill and I got promoted to general, okay? The classic military scenario. People don't want that scenario. They don't want to die so you can get promoted. They don't want to be working themselves in an early grave so you can be a hero to the bosses. They want you to be genuinely interested in them and their careers. And be a good listener. Now, one of the problems with the boss is we talk too much. We know more usually, we've got more experience, we've got more knowledge, information, so we're in the habit of telling people. We have to stop ourselves and let them talk so they feel heard, they feel appreciated, they feel valued, that key word, valued. Shut up, boss, listen. Not easy though, busy life, lots of emails, lots of stuff to do, lots of meetings, do this, do that, move on. We've got to slow down a little bit and have that personal engagement. Talking about what you want is interesting to you, but it's only interesting to you. If you want your people to be motivated, start talking about what they want. Same in sales. If you talk about things to your client that are of extreme interest to you, the salesperson, you're not going to get a sale. The client wants to know you're interested in what they want. Same with the teams. They want to know you're interested in their interests. Okay? Make them feel important. Again, do it sincerely. Don't try fake praise. People pick it up straight away. Thing two, we forget that we were 20, 25, 30 at some point. We forget that we made mistakes, and we are today the total product of all the mistakes we made. That's what we are. We are a collection of errors and mistakes we've made in our lives that have built us today. That is what our experience is. Your experiences are a collection of mistakes from which you've learnt, or things that you've learned to avoid. But sometimes we forget to give that benefit to younger people, or people not as new in, not as experienced in the task. Don't jump on people when they make mistakes. And if you've got a, they know, it's very rare that you didn't know you made a mistake. It's a pretty rare thing. Talk about the mistakes you made to show them that you're human and you understand. And yes, there was a mistake, we have to fix it. This is a great one. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. We have got mobile phones, iPads with us 24 hours a day now. We are no longer able to take breaks. I realise recently there's been a discussion about airlines, whether they should let people have the mobile phones all the time running in aircraft. And there's quite a lot of people say, no, I don't want that. It's hard enough working, you're going to be travelling and working the whole time. At least I can take a break on the aircraft. Well, maybe that will disappear too. But it means that in a very, very busy life, everything gets truncated. So we tend to be shooting orders because we're moving very fast, very high metabolism. Do this, do this, do this, and move on. Well, much better to ask questions, because then we're getting them involved in the answers. Let them do a great deal of the talking. Make them feel the idea is theirs. See it from their point of view. And then begin with praise and honest appreciation. Right? This is very interesting. Begin. Think of it. How many times do we start a conversation with our team? David, how's that report coming along? Boom. Straight in there to the meat of what I want to know about. As opposed to, David, thank you very much for your contribution in the meeting the other day. We had the 80 managers together there, and you made some very insightful comments, which I think helped the whole group, and I certainly appreciate them. Thank you very much. By the way, how's that report coming along? You hear the tone, you hear the difference. One is starting with something, you're recognising what they're doing, and then you move to the thing that you're interested in. And it's got to be genuine. If he didn't have any good insight, and he actually had a pretty miserable insight, and he knows it too, and you've said it's a great insight, it doesn't work. It's got to be real. But the point is, when you start conversations with your team, do you begin with something that's praising and appreciating them before you get into the thing that you are thinking of? I've trained myself. If you get an email from me, you will generally get an email from me that says, thanks. It's always the first word I write, thanks, because my habit is to go straight into the meat of what I want to talk about in the first sentence. But I've trained myself to not start like that. I've trained myself to begin and say thank you to people, thank you for this, thank you for that first, and then talk about what I want. It's a similar idea in face-to-face. So again, if there are mistakes, bring them up indirectly. Praise and honest appreciation, talk about your own mistakes, okay, ask questions for your direct orders. Now, in terms of having conversations with people, we said before, in the old way of doing things, we never got that interaction personally with people. Your private life is over here, work life is over here, boss doesn't get involved. Well, that era is gone. And in fact, the younger that people become in the workforce, or the younger they are in your workforce, the more they want to know you care about their total holistic self. So, what are the things that make them passionate? What are the things that they feel are challenging? What are the things they find stimulating, motivating? What sort of opportunities are they looking for? Where are their strengths? Where do they see their strengths? What are they proud about? Now, this could be very casual. It doesn't have to be an interrogation. It doesn't have to be in the office. It could be over drinks after work. It could be having lunch together. It could be having breakfast together. It could be walking towards a client meeting together. Having these sorts of conversations with your team, trying to understand that person in total. What is driving them? And therefore, taking your conversation and matching it to what they're interested in. Exactly the same as you would do in sales. You'd find out in sales, what was the client interested in? What are they trying to achieve? What are the outcomes they want? And then you talk in terms of how what you have will help them to deliver the solution for that end goal. It's exactly the same when we're dealing with people. What do they want? How do we arouse an eager want? If you don't know what they want, you can't arouse an eager want.